This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Yeah, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Jason, what do you got on tap for us today?
Well, tonight I've got a series by a creator who I've talked about many times before on on our podcast and on the blog as well. And that is Donny Cates. It's like the man who broken had his big break with God Country along with his artist buddy Jeff Shaw, and then they both parlayed that success onto another Marvel series that like that shot him into the big time. Thanos, his final arc on that series, Thanos wins. It's like, and from there he just kept getting bigger and bigger. From his creator own stuff like on Redneck at Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint to specifically Venom at Marvel, which should have kept shooting him even further and further into the big time. But unfortunately, it's like he's had some family issues in the past year that caused him to drop off both Hulk and Thor after really solid starts to those runs. So on one hand, it's I really feel bad for him that he's kind of hit this career hiccup at the same time. But he's also that he's shown enough talent that I want to see him get back into the saddle and continue to deliver quality quality runs from here on out. Because apparently, even though he's got his his new series on Vanish with with his Venom buddy Brandon Stegman going on at Image right now, he's apparently got some secret Marvel project lined up that is not going to be announced right now, but hopefully will be coming in the future. But right now, I'm talking about a series that came out around the time when he was just blowing up, with a publisher that is also blowing up for completely different reasons. This is his series Babyteeth, about a series that he did with artist Jerry. It's Gary Brown, about a 16-year-old girl who winds up giving birth to the Antichrist. But before I go into about that, I need to talk about its publisher, Aftershock Comics. They are a publisher who were founded in 2015 by established comics creators and editors Joe Pruitt and Mike Martz. It's they were obviously focused on producing comics and all. It's why would you get into a comics publishing business if you weren't, unless you were just also trying to publish comics in order to attract the attention of Hollywood guys in order to option your stuff and make money that way. Not saying that's what Aftershock was all about, but I'm definitely think that they definitely had an eye towards that. But they published a number of series that I read, mainly from Garth Ennis because he wrote a number of series for them. See, his Tuskegee Airman War comic, Dreaming Eagles, his horror series, Walk Through Hell, and his James Bond parody series with Jimmy's Bastards, all of which were fine. I mean, Dreaming Eagles more fine than either of the other two series I mentioned, and also he did the the Burma War comic on the Lion and the Eagle, which I just finished reading this week and will be writing about eventually. It's but also it's Aftershock was home to to Cates's series on Babyteeth, and this is a series that hey he's a creator I like, so why didn't I buy beforehand? And that's just because it didn't quite get the same level of buzz that his other projects do. That I think this is can be one of being the forgotten series that he did, and the reason you're hearing about it now is because Aftershock filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy back at the end of last year, and while they're still putting out comics, it's more of an issue of managing their backlist more than anything else, putting out variant covers from previously published comics, and also just new collected editions of previous comics. They don't have any new comics on the slate for the future, so it's possible that everything they publish right now could be just what they're doing. That could be it. No more Aftershock comic, no more new Aftershock comics for the future. I mean, I'd love to be wrong about this, but when it comes to American comic book publishers going out of business. When you rack up the level of like unpaid creators that Aftershock has at this point, yeah, it's like you kind of think like the writing's on the wall at this point. So I realized that okay, it's basically time to get some to buy Babyteeth, like all 4 volumes of it, even though it's like there are 2 hardcover collections of it, and also a omnibus edition planned for later this year. Here's the thing though, if you were to like buy all 4 volumes at cover price, they'd still be cheaper than the hardcover, like the 2 hardcover editions and the omnibus edition as well. So even if like you do get those like um hardcover two like those 2 hardcover editions or like the big omnibus edition, you're maybe like paying like a premium for it more than anything else. So that's especially why I wanted to do Babyteeth right now. Well, the prices for like each of these 4 volumes are still at cover price. It's like, and I didn't have to pay through the like I didn't have to like sacrifice my left nut in order to pay for them. But that being said, like, was it actually worth paying cover price for these 4 volumes? Yeah, spoiler warning, it totally was. This is actually like a really fun series that it takes its like premise. What if a 16-year-old girl gave birth to the Antichrist and goes to some like fun, interesting places with it. Because the 16-year-old girl in question is her name is Sadie Ritter, and we're introduced to her like leaving a cell phone message for her son, who is the Antichrist, um like in Palestine, because we're starting like in media res, we're starting like in the future before things flash back to the birth of her to the birth of her kid. It's like and like in her dealing with all the fallout that happens, because like yeah, it's like even as she gives birth, like her contractions cause earthquakes on the Richter scale. It's like, and as her when her water bursts, it's like like it's not water, it's actually blood. It's like, and then when she actually like like tries to like push her like son into like life, it causes her to die and maybe go to hell, where she like has a almost close encounter with her son's dad. So you think all this crazy like fantasy religious stuff, like what's the hook here? Well, the hook here is actually the same thing that Cates is like that is like endeared a lot of what Cates has done to me. It's like over the course of the years. That's his. It's like he's really good at grounding stuff in it's like in like believable human emotions and interactions. I mean, yes, Sadie is giving birth to the Antichrist, but here's the thing: she's got it's like a badass drug dealing like big sister, like who loves her, Heather, who is just like willing to it's like beat up the like the guys who are hassling her without without a second thought, and like drive her to the hospital once her water bursts, like without any questions. Oh, and then there's her dad, who is also a airplane pilot. It's like his name's Michael. It's like, and he's like really understanding dad, because like he is hit in the dark about her pregnancy. It's like he's just really like kind and understanding about the situation that she's gone through. Like he's not gonna like say like, why didn't you tell me about my grandson? No, he's just saying hey, it's like like I'm here for you, for Sadie. What can I do? It's like he's a good guy, and probably the one of the best defining series moments of the series early on is when Sadie is trying to get her son Clark. And she lies in a second to tell him, yes, Dad, he's named after our great granddad. When she actually in her mind is like, no, he's actually named for Superman. Like when she's trying to get him to latch in terms of breastfeeding, and when he finally does, like he bites so there's blood, because he's Antichrist. He needs blood in order to live. Because I mean, that's the thing. Why does Antichrist need blood in order to live? And it's like, come on, man, he's the Antichrist. It's like, yeah, you have to like accept that kind of thing, and if you're going to get through this series. But when but when Sadie realizes that, oh, he's got to have my blood in order to live. It's like, and her dad finds out about this because she's still living in his home and all. Like he's just kind of like, see, this is insane. Like, but he's not just kind of like, he's not gonna like say, like, my God, it's like, you're crazy, girl, get out. It's like, no, he's really just deeply concerned for his daughter, and that's really endearing. And all, it's like, like he just wants to like help his daughter, even though he realizes like maybe she's having some kind of like really some big psychotic break, like over like becoming a mother. And I like that because it goes against convention. Like you don't like, you'd think that like the dad would just like freak out about this, but no, like her dad Michael is just like a really understanding guy about everything. He just wants to help his daughter, and that holds through over like throughout the entire series 20 issue run. In fact, like the series is really good about just like hoping for the best about the characters closest to Sadie. And it's also probably worth mentioning that Kate, that I couldn't find like the specific like evidence of this. I remember hearing somewhere that Cates wrote this as a tribute to his mother, which it's like, hey, this is really cool and all. Especially it's like if you want to like just assume that Sadie is Cates' mom and Clark is Cates himself, which leads to some like pretty funny like self-aggrandizing stuff when you get to the end of the series. But like the first volume is all about just introducing you to the characters, just like Sadie and her, just, what am I going to do in this situation? Michael and his like, I'm here from you, girl. It's like, even as what you're doing is like kind of like insane. And Heather is like, I'm here to like, here to fuck anyone up who's like, get in your way, get in my sister's way. It's like, and these kind of characterizations like bear themselves out over the course of the series as we encounter like lots of different crazy stuff. Because in volume 2, well, we get to meet Sadie's mom, who it turns out is part of a Satan worshipping cult that is based upon the idea that they're all descended from a girl that a cult back in the biblical times that wanted to sacrifice to Satan, but by burning her alive. But instead of like actually dying, the girl was like gifted with a kid. So, and they're saying, oh, this is Satan's kid. So obviously Satan wants us to like propagate like his spawn upon the land. And so there you go. That's where Sadie's mom comes from. She's she's a real character, as is her other son, who is a honest to God warlock, and is also just dedicated to her well-being as well. Oh, and there's also it's like a secret government cabal known as the Silhouette, which is dedicated to trying to orchestrate or take over the like the Antichrist, and just find a way to like how can we manipulate like the son of Satan in order to be our thing, like our benefit on this earth. And there's and for like dedicated Kate's fans, there's also like a blink and you miss it nod to the Ghost Fleet. It's like in there as well, which is cute. It's like 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 there's all this like big over the top action that that ensues in volume 2 as the as a member of the Silhouette goes rogue and decides to try and like take matters into his own hands in terms of like what happens to the parents of the Antichrist, because he's apparently had some encounters with them like early on, like earlier in like before this series started. And then you get to the third volume when when the Silhouette business is over with, but Sadie finds herself separated from her son Clark, and also her sister Heather. Oh, and also the fire-breathing demon Tanuki that they encounter like as well. I mean, yeah, I say Tanuki, you can just say raccoon, and it can be done with it. But like that's when volume 3 is when we actually get to meet up with Clark's dad, Satan, and find out just what his stake in the whole thing is. And while I think that Cates has some good ideas about how Satan is meant to be portrayed in fiction, I didn't really like how there was like a lot of like big bait and switching going on in the next last chapter. I think that the fiction that Satan illustrates is arguably more interesting than the reality that he portrays. Now, he does find like a nice way to spin this in the final volume, but I kind of would have liked to have seen how how things dealt with the fact that with if things had turned out that the stuff the devil was saying in volume 3 was actually true, and there you go. Volume 4 does wrap everything up pretty nicely. Like it does have maybe not like a full on version of like oh, we got to wrap this up now, but like it does like cover a lot of time in a very small space, because like each issue is five each collection is 5 issues, and there's a lot of ground being covered in this final issue that is mainly dedicated to showing you how Sadie was a good mom. It's like overall, and yeah, it's like I think by the end of this, I can believe that. And so all the effort all the hoops the series jumps through in order to convince you of that in the final volume, it's worth it. In addition to the fact that Heather was definitely like the most badass of big sisters as well. It's like it's like it's violent, ridiculous, over the top, but it's good fun, and it's grounded in again believable human emotions, as is like the best of Kate's work. If there's any issues that I have with the series, I mean, Gary Brown's work, I mean, it's solid. I mean, I guess you could say like he's not really like a big like I'm gonna like draw everything like on the page, like a big like I'm gonna like like invest everything with like intricate levels of detail. Like he's kind of like a good, I guess you say, vertigo artist, in the sense that he's more concerned with like conveying like emotion, and like conveying the essentials of the story that's being told, and like that's good. But when it comes to big epic set pieces, like when you're asked to see like, oh, this is what it looks like when like the forces of hell are coming for Sadie and her family, or when it looks like when hell is advancing on Earth, it's like he's not so good with that. I mean, his stuff is more like impressionistic, like in that regards. And I think that like that maybe like some of the stuff in series I've seen before, like say what is it, Black Road and The Massive, like he wasn't doing like a book every month like in that series. It's like, so it's like maybe he had more time to focus his efforts like on those titles. He didn't quite have that luxury of time on Babyteeth, looking at it, because like he just did every issue of this 20 issue series. So like it's like the art, it's fine, but at the same time, it's, you gotta appreciate it for being more impressionistic than just like flat out flashy or detailed. But it's good, and overall, it's like the series is. I think it's like the most like like striking of like works I've read from Cates. I mean, God Country still is that like textbook example of how you nail um like like big fantasy ideas to just grounded relatable storytelling. Thanos Wins is just like that whole big superhero thing of like where every like the stakes become bigger with and crazier with every issue. And Venom is that miracle superhero title where it's like it starts off with like a hero who starts with nothing, and then is slowly built back up, like with each successive arc, even if it looks like that's not what's happening, but it actually is. So Babyteeth, isn't it's like probably suffers something like that. It's not doesn't have like the distinctive hook that like other Kate series have, but for a series that like is about hey, let me tell you about a story about a 16-year-old girl who gives birth to the Antichrist, and how her family supports her like through this like impossible fantastical affair. It's actually really good. And you know what? Like I do think it's worth picking up. I mean, sure, you can roll the dice, like if you want to like get the hardcover editions or the omnibus edition that's coming out. But if you can get the 4 softcover volumes that are out right now, I think they're definitely worth it. And it's like, as for like other Aftershock stuff, well, I don't know, it's like Dreaming Eagles from Garth Ennis and Lion and the Eagle were pretty good. Oh, and also Out of the Blue was fine, but that's his war comic stuff, and that's kind of like, hey, that's kind of like the most consistent stuff he's doing these days. But I'm digressing. Babyteeth, worth getting before it disappears. And there you go.
All right. Well, sounds like you did like this one.
I did. It's like it's another run of what I like from Cates, and while I'm continuing to read what he does, even if like Vanished, the first one Vanished wasn't quite on the same level, but I'm also like deeply interested in like whatever he's got cooking like at Marvel in the future.
All right. Well, what do you have cooking for the next time? Speaking of cooking,
I'm not sure, but I'm sure it'll be something in 2 weeks because that's how things roll around here.
it will be something good. All right. Well, tune in for the next podcast, and we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
Laters.